It was a cold, rainy evening in the heart of the city when Adrian Cole, one of the youngest and most powerful CEOs in the country, sat in his glass-walled office, staring blankly at the skyline. The clock struck 9, and most of his employees had already gone home. But for Adrian, home had long become an unfamiliar word. Success had brought him everything: luxury, respect, fear, but not peace. His empire was built on sleepless nights, ruthless deals, and a heart hardened by loss. Yet, that night, as thunder rumbled outside, a small white envelope slid under his office door. The handwriting on it was shaky, almost childlike. It simply read, "Can you read this letter? It's very important." Adrian frowned. There was no sender's name, no return address. Something about it, though, something fragile, innocent, made him pause. He tore it open, expecting a business plea or a complaint. But inside was a neatly folded piece of lined paper, written in pink crayon. "Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of love to change even the hardest hearts, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps us bring more real, emotional stories that remind us what truly matters." The letter began, "Dear Mr. Cole, my name is Emma. I'm 8 years old. My mommy says you are a very important man who helps people find homes. I wanted to ask if you can help me too. We don't have a home anymore. Mommy says it's okay, but she cries when she thinks I'm asleep. I know she tries to smile for me, but she's very tired. I want to help her. If you can, please help us. And if you can't, that's okay too. I just wanted to try. Mommy says trying is brave. Love, Emma." Adrian read it twice, then a third time, each word sinking deeper than the last. It wasn't the first time he'd received requests for help. Every day, his company, one of the largest real estate firms in the country, got dozens of letters begging for mercy from families facing eviction. He never read them. He had assistants for that. But this one had found its way directly to him. And for some reason, he couldn't ignore it. He stared at the letter, the childish crayon hearts, the uneven handwriting, the innocent hope of a little girl who still believed the world cared. Something stirred inside him, something he thought was long gone. That night, Adrian couldn't sleep. His mind kept returning to the letter. The words, "Mommy cries when she thinks I'm asleep," echoed in his head. He had once watched his own mother cry like that, back when they'd lost their house, back before he swore he'd never be poor, never be powerless again. That memory had built his empire, but also destroyed his softness. And now, out of nowhere, one small girl's plea had cracked it open. The next morning, Adrian called his assistant, Rachel. "Find this girl," he ordered, handing her the letter. "Her name is Emma. She says her mom lost their home. I want to know where they are." Rachel hesitated. "Sir, we get hundreds of these every week. It might take a while." "Then start now," Adrian said quietly. For 3 days, there was no news. Then Rachel returned with a file, her face pale. "Sir, we found them." She handed him a photograph of a woman and a small girl standing outside a temporary shelter. The woman, in her early 30s, looked worn down, thin, exhausted, but still trying to smile. The little girl in her arms, with curly brown hair and a bright pink jacket, was beaming at the camera. "They've been at the St. Mercy shelter for 2 months, Rachel explained. "Her name is Emily Hart. Her daughter, Emma. They used to live in one of your company's apartments, but after Emily lost her job, they couldn't pay rent. The building was part of your recent acquisition, and..." Adrian's chest tightened. "And I approved the eviction," he finished. Rachel nodded silently. That night, Adrian drove to the shelter himself. He didn't know what he was planning to do. The rain had started again, and the shelter's lights glowed faintly through the mist. Inside, the air smelled of damp clothes and warm soup. Children played quietly in the corner while tired parents watched them with weary eyes. When he asked for Emily and Emma, the receptionist looked uncertain but led him to a small room. The door opened, and there she was. The woman from the photo. She looked up in surprise as he entered, her daughter curled up asleep beside her on a thin mattress. For a long moment, he just stood there, speechless. Emily recognized him almost immediately. You're Adrian Cole," she whispered. "The CEO." He nodded. "I got your daughter's letter," he said softly. "I wanted to see you both." She looked embarrassed, her eyes filling with tears. "I didn't know she sent it." She must have found your company address somewhere. I'm so sorry, she just wanted to help me. Adrian knelt beside the sleeping girl, gently touching the edge of her pink blanket. She already has, he murmured. She reminded me what being human feels like. Over the next few weeks, Adrian arranged everything: a small apartment for them, a job interview for Emily, even a scholarship application for Emma's school. He didn't want to make them feel like charity, he wanted to give them a chance. Slowly, life began to change for them. Emma's laughter returned, and Emily began to regain her strength. But just as things seemed to be healing, fate struck a cruel blow. One evening, Adrian received a call from the hospital. There had been an accident. A car had jumped a red light near the school. Emma had been hit while crossing the street. By the time Adrian arrived, Emily was sobbing in a hospital hallway, her hands trembling. Emma was in critical condition. The next hours were a blur of doctors, machines, and silent prayers. Adrian sat outside the ICU, his head in his hands. He'd spent his whole life fixing things with money, but this time, money was useless. He would have given away his entire fortune if it could have saved her. The next morning, the doctor came out, his expression heavy. "She's asking for you," he said quietly. When Adrian entered the room, Emma was lying there, pale and fragile, her small chest rising and falling with effort. She smiled faintly when she saw him. "Hi, Mr. Cole," she whispered. "Did you read my letter?" Tears filled his eyes as he nodded. "Yes, Emma, I did. And I'll never forget it." She reached under her pillow and pulled out another folded paper. "I wrote you another one," she said weakly. "Can you read it? It's very important." His hands shook as he opened it. Inside, written in the same pink crayon, were the words that would haunt him forever. "Dear Mr. Cole, thank you for helping Mommy. I'm very happy now, but if I don't wake up, can you promise to keep helping other people like us? Because there are many mommies and kids who cry at night. You can help them smile again. Please promise, okay? Love, Emma." Adrian couldn't speak. He just nodded, holding her small hand until her breathing slowed, and then stopped. The world seemed to fall silent. In that moment, the man who owned skyscrapers, cars, and empires felt completely powerless. He wept openly for the first time in years. In the weeks that followed, Adrian disappeared from the public eye. Rumors spread that he'd resigned, that he'd lost his mind. But quietly, without media attention, he began something new. He sold one of his companies and used the money to create the Emma Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to providing housing and support for struggling families. He personally visited shelters, schools, and hospitals, often anonymously, ensuring that no child had to write another desperate letter like Emma's. Every year on the same date, he visited her grave, always bringing a small bouquet of pink flowers and a handwritten note. "I'm still keeping my promise," he would whisper. And he did. Years later, the foundation had grown into one of the largest housing charities in the country. Thousands of families were living better lives because one little girl had dared to believe someone would listen. One rainy afternoon, Adrian stood in front of a new housing complex built by the foundation. The plaque on the entrance read, "Emma's Place, a home for every heart." As he watched children laughing in the courtyard, a small tear rolled down his cheek. He could almost hear her voice again, that innocent, hopeful tone saying, "Can you read this letter? It's very important." He smiled faintly and whispered, "Yes, Emma. I read it. And I always will. If this story touched your heart, if you believe that compassion can still change the world, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps us bring more true-to-life stories that remind us of the power of kindness. Speech balloon special request. Before you go, tell us in the comments, what promise would you keep if someone like Emma asked you for help?